You are listening to the Ebony Covering Black America Podcast Network.
You are listening to Beyond the Fit, and this is your host, Holly Cotton. This show's purpose is to go beyond just looking fit and explore topics of health and wellness so that we can all be the strongest versions of ourselves inside and out. On today's episode, I wanted to continue talking about mental health awareness because it is still May, and I'm super excited. You guys know I'm always excited when I have someone that actually comes on and gives me their expertise about whatever it is that we're talking about. So what I really wanted to do, especially being a female and just being in kind of like when I work out, if you guys follow me on Instagram, you know, I try to do like a lot of workout stuff. I try to lift heavy weights. I try to do things to push myself, which is kind of not like the norm right now because a lot of women are just, you know, trying to grow lower body and they're not really worried about being strong. But I know that even for me, sometimes I feel like, am I getting too muscular? Am I pushing myself too hard? What's going on? So I know that I, just as a regular trainer and normal person, deal with a lot of sort of anxiety and maybe questioning. So I wanted to get a professional opinion from someone who is in the athletic field professionally. So I am so happy that Miss Marshay Moore is going to join us today. And Marshay is actually a graduate of the University of Oregon, and she actually plays professional ball with the Arizona Ice. So she has basically a whole life of being a female athlete and is able to give us some of that expertise, as well as she coaches younger adults so she can see things. And we're going to talk about warning signs, triggers, all that great stuff. And also just how she's dealt with being in sort of, I hate to say a male dominated sport or a male dominated world, but come on, let's be honest. Like women are still fighting for a spot in everything. So thank you so much, Marshay, for coming on and giving us your expertise.
Yes, anytime. I really appreciate being on here, Holly.
All right. So first, we kind of just gave a little snip into who Miss Marshay is. And I don't really want you to go into as far as what your experience is, because like I said, I know that you've been a lifelong basketball player. So I want to kind of tweak that question to ask you, why is basketball your go-to? Why have you dedicated this whole life to this sport?
And I think that's a great question to start off with. And I think for me personally, it was definitely just from the life that I lived. You know, I had two parents that were alcoholics. And so me just trying to find a different pathway to not be and follow in their footsteps. So I started playing basketball at a young age. And that's more as I, played and got used to the game. I realized that it could take me out, give me a full scholarship and be able to, as well finish my schooling. And so I just took that into a little personal and wanted to find a different way to guide me than looking at my parents for that influence. So basketball has definitely taken me in a different direction, and it has helped me grow as a student, as an athlete, and as a person as well.
Right. And actually we'll go into that and a little bit later, but I love that you said that also, because as I have talked about various mental health topics, I always come back to the correlation between fitness and mental health. And not only is being fit, which is why my show is called Beyond Fit, because anyone can look cute. You can be in shape. You can have a great figure. You can go to Colombia or Puerto Rico or wherever else and buy you a shape now. No one even has to work for it. But we're talking about the mental health aspect of it and how being fit can actually, like you said, now you used your athleticism to not only get you a scholarship, but allow you to have all these endeavors in life by basically just embracing that fit part of it. So I love that you mentioned that. And what I want to go into as the first question is, I want to talk about the pressure that as a woman athlete that you have for performing at a high level sport. And I can tell you now, like I went to a high school basketball game and I was like, okay, I I am way old because they are like killing it at a high school level now. Like, I mean, it used to be like it was almost like a professional sport. And now there's such a pressure, even from a young age in high school, that you need, listen, you're not coming out here to fool around. Like, you have to be performing at an athletic level, even in high school. So I just wanted to ask you about that, about your opinion, and how hard is it to sustain that lifestyle?
And I think, with looking at the younger generation as well in high school, because I know when I started high school, it wasn't as much pressure. You have elite players and then you have players that never played before, but you still work together. And I do think nowadays there's so much pressure on student athletes to be so great at such a young age. And I think that's, part of just coaching and as well as parents. And so just kind of having that combination. But back to your question, I think being a student athlete and playing at that high level, there's just so much you have to do. And so just finding that balance between, traveling, and you got your tutor sessions, and then you got practice, and then you got classes. So just finding that balance, it definitely is a challenge. It takes time. And then just finding the right resources and connections and finding someone that you can actually be able to talk to about stuff like that. So I think just finding that equal part of going as hard as you can, but also knowing that there is that downtime that you need to adjust to and relax.
And I'm going to actually ask you about some of those tips in a little bit. So remember all those resources, because I'm going to need you to like give us the inside scoop on that, because that's one of my questions too. How is it for you on a daily basis as far as the commitment to it and just feeling overwhelmed? You know how like on those tests that you have to take to get a job, on a scale of 1 to 7, or severely disagree, severely agree, whatever those ranges are. So like on a scale of like 7 days per week, how many days a week do you feel, I'm talking just specifically about the athletic part, not all the stuff about life, but in those 7 days a week, how many days a week do you feel overwhelmed with everything that you have to do to keep yourself performing at a high level?
Yeah, I would say definitely above midway, around like 6 or 7. Maybe a few years later might have been a little higher just because of, growth. And so, basketball, it takes a lot, mentally, physically, emotionally. It's literally you're all in or you're not. Because you always have to give it 110%. So when we're playing basketball, you're super dedicated. And so you have practice, but also outside of practice, that's when the work comes. And so being able to find that time to be able to manage outside of just playing sports, work or, eating, certain things like that. So I would definitely say around a 6, just predicated on basketball.
That's a lot. That's a lot of dedication. And I wanted to do the show because we have so many women that are in the professional arena now. We have so many women and not only if you're not a professional athlete, but this show can also kind of embrace just women in general. Because let me tell you, just being a mom or just going to work, that crap is hard too. Yeah. Just having a regular day. Exactly. and then adding on to that I'm already a woman and fighting for my spot and doing all of this. And now I got to be performing at a high level too. Like, when does it end? So I'm glad that you brought that up, and that's definitely a lot of pressure. So my next question that I have, because I also always am just curious about the disparities you see as a female athlete and men. And not talking about anything else but just mental health, because this is mental health. Because believe me, I know they got some disparities between men and women already. We not going to make the men hate us, but we know y'all got it a little bit better than us. So I'm just talking about just specifically in mental health. Do you find that women and like women that you're around are more open to seeking any kind of mental health treatment? Do you see that? Like, is there more pressure for women to suck it up? Or do you think that women have the same resources? Like, it's okay. We feel this anxiety, we feel this stress, and we're being embraced for having those feelings.
Yeah, I would say that it's kind of 50-50, but I feel like the most part, women do tend to talk about it with other women, but I don't think there is a stigma where it's like, if I do express this, I'm being lazy, or I might have a bad attitude, or feeling the part, well, maybe I can't tell anyone, I might can tell my friends, but only a half of it. And so I think I don't really see too much of them kind of seeking help. I hear a lot of it. I think I should go to get counseling or therapy, but it's never that next step. I think that what maybe holds us back as well too is just having that stigma around us, having to do so much and then, being able to try to get that help. And it's like, well, you already do this, this, and this. So why can't you, continue to do it? And so is that stigma of just being able to be that woman and already have so much to do and then being able to get that help and that right support.
We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. Welcome back to Beyond the Fit.
I definitely think it does. It is a struggle for women because we're, told so long or so much that, we're always complaining or it's a sign of, weakness or laziness when in reality we have so much and like that we ball up. And so being able to not express that kind of puts us backpedal a little bit.
Right. And that's just a great angle that I didn't even like. I mean, I kind of thought that, but like to hear you say it just kind of just brings everything to like the forefront because honestly, like you said, you are working hard already. And then to deal with the pressure, the practices, the balance, like it's almost like you guys should have some type of mental health resource right there. So, more of, hey, we going through some PTSD, especially like after a loss or adding extra practices or whatever. So that's very interesting. We're going to have to lobby for you guys to get
yeah,
like,
right.
we need an athletic trainer. We need a therapist. We need like everybody on staff. So that's a great angle to have. And so what I wanted to ask too, whenever we're talking about the pressure, I wanted to talk about the pressure of winning. And I know that unfortunately, one, I'm a Virgo and we are very perfectionist sign. And so we are very persevering, like we do not give up. And I think one, that's like my personality, like we go into the gutter, we go into the end, like we do not give up in this house. My kids know, like I don't care. Right. So I try not to do that because now I'm like, oh gosh, I've been doing all these mental health shows and how did my kids are all jacked up because I'm making them think they can't lose.
Like, I never give up.
I know. And I'm like, man, maybe I'm too hard on them or whatever. But so I wanted to just ask you, for your expertise, since you've been doing this professionally and for so long, how do you deal with the loss part? What is that part? Because I know I hate to lose. And especially when a lot is on the line, like, oh my God, like I'm mad at everybody. Don't talk to me for 3 days. Like, y'all done jacked me up. Like, no. And I know that's not healthy. So that's definitely not the route we should go. But especially because like you said, you do train younger, or young adults, not you necessarily, but young adults. And so what are some of the strategies that you have learned that you can share with us regarding embracing the loss?
Yeah. So I completely agree. Just being a student athlete, you have that perfectionist mentality, so we have the game plan, you go out there, you're supposed to execute, and so if you don't execute and you have that loss, definitely if it's like a championship game or, it's getting to that spot. And so for me personally, I'm very, like, I don't show it as much, but internally I'm like, crap, like, beating myself up, what could I have done better? What could the team done better? And so there is a lot of pressure on that. But yeah, I definitely have used with my 4th and 5th grade. So as my 6th grade, when we do play games, and I think there was one game where I think we lost by like 20, and they were kind of upset. Some of them were crying, and it was just about the part of just like, I understand, sometimes we win, sometimes we lose. At the end of the day, we have practices. That's what allows us to get better. So when we do come in a game, we want to make sure that we can execute that. And at the end of the day, when you work hard, and you gotta have that fun mentality in there as well. Basketball is also meant to be fun. You also got to put in that work, and sometimes it's going to be stressful. But you got to understand that you can still have fun even though you lost, and you just got to get better the next day.
Right. Okay. Yes. Good. And I'm glad that you talked about the kids too, because I do feel like there's a lot of pressure for the kids. I
Yeah.
mean, like honestly, I couldn't make it as a kid. Like I was
No,
I was a school nurse for 2 years in high school, and like they literally had moms, parents, but it was the moms that usually came in, but it was the parents' choice to put their kids on like ADHD medication or ADD medication. And they would literally come in at 5 o'clock in the morning to give their kids medication so that they could
wow.
focus, because they were doing swimming at
Mhm.
4:30 in the morning, or they were doing, they wanted them to be
Wow.
so high performing. And I was like, don't you want your kid to just be a kid?
Yeah,
But
exactly.
and so
Right.
it's definitely a lot of pressure. So I'm glad that you talked about that. And do you have any recommendations for anyone that is like maybe raising a kid that's in sports or regarding that? I mean, I know we said it's supposed to be fun, but
Yeah.
do you have
Yeah.
like a recommendation?
I think just like understanding when you do discuss with your kid is, that just having fun as well, and just not take everything so serious. Life is pretty hard, and so being able to do the things that you love and actually cherishing those, and then just like I think also it has to do, just kind of eating healthy, just getting that energy and taking that energy, and then finding things outside of sports that you love. For me personally, I like to draw, so when I do have my stressful moments, I'll take my time to go draw. Or, I'm from Washington, so it's very nature and green. So even taking nature walks and just relaxing and, getting that breeze and listen to the birds. So just having different things to, kind of mellow you out, and things that you like and love besides the sports. Because you think about it too, you don't know if you're always going to play sports. You might have an injury or you might not be at that elite level. So just having a backup plan as well.
I think that that's really, really good. If you, and actually, I had a mental health show. One of my first episodes was about, I talked to a mental health advocate. And it's so funny
Yeah.
because you said like everything that he mentioned for stress relief is like what you said. Like he was like, go outside and have fresh air. And then you said that. And he's like, have a hobby. And then that. And then we've already talked about fitness and how exercise can actually release tension and help you maintain where you're not having, anxiety and depression. So I think that's really great. Like, so see you guys,
Right.
listen to my episodes. Everyone
Exactly.
that's that has expertise in it says the same thing. I'm not making this up. So
It's true.
she
Listen to
co-signed
Holly.
too. Okay, so I wanted to just like have just a serious conversation about suicide, because I know that one, it's so depressing, especially as a mom. And I, and just and not even be a mom, just as a healthcare professional, just as a person. And every time I seem to open up Instagram or any type of social media, I'm like, oh my gosh, someone else committed suicide. And it's like these young, beautiful girls that are cheerleaders or doing sports or doing these things. And it's like, oh my gosh, like this cheerleader just killed herself. I'm from Louisiana, and it was in Louisiana, and it was like all over the place because she left like a note and things like that. God rest her soul. But I'm just wondering, whenever you're talking to the youth and you're, seeing these kids, because
Mhm.
they may not have a person that they can talk to. So they
Exactly.
may just be talking to you.
Mhm.
So do you have any experience with that? Has anyone reached out to you, or like just anything
Yeah.
that ever has happened to you like that, something personal, any insight into that?
Yeah, I wouldn't say necessarily with the kids, but I actually did have a friend. So, I mean, yeah, suicide is definitely very, out, and it has been, but, with social media, you kind of see more of it, and so it's hard to kind of get away from it. And so, even just being off your phone for a few hours at a time, to kind of get that. But I did actually have a friend who committed suicide. And so it was really hard on her because they were super close, and her having to move, she felt like she couldn't really be there and supporting him. And and it's hard because sometimes they tell you, and but it might be as in a joke. And so it's just always being, having that energy and just allowing and telling your friends like you love them, like you're here for them, you care for them, and if you need anyone, like I'm here to listen. Like sometimes like people might not want you to react to things and just want to have open ears. So that's what I just try to be, that positive, uplifting spirit for a lot of my friends, just because, you never know who's going through something and who needs something. And so whoever I talk to, just having that smile on your face and allowing to people to know that, there is people that care for you. There is people that out there that will help, and it's okay to be scared, and it's okay to take that chance, because you never know, what the outcomes can be.
Yeah, and that's really good. And also, I wanted to add to that as well for anyone that's listening, because not only like what I want my show is not only to be for the person that's listening, but I want whoever is listening to always be able to take something and pass that on to someone else for something that they hear. So, what I want people to know from just that little part that we just said is that people are going through stuff that you have no idea about. And we can all get out and put on a happy face, and then they could go home and be depressed for 5 days and you don't even know about it. But if you have someone, especially someone that's a young adult, someone that's struggling, going through that process, because it's hard. All of a sudden, you're 17, you graduate high school, 18. Now you got to have a life plan. You got to get out and you got to go figure it out. And it's like, wait, what? I'm not ready for this. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. Welcome back to Beyond the Fit. Encourage people to reach out to anyone, especially like a coach like Marshay or someone like that, like someone that they may have a relationship with. Because I can tell you, I'm probably going to be closer to someone that I'm seeing every day that's coaching me or that's helping me push myself or whatever. So just use that as an opportunity too. You may not have any friends, but if you have a coach like Marshay or someone like that you're seeing on a daily basis and you ain't feeling right, do not hold it in. Go find someone to talk to.
Yeah. And I think that's the big key, is not holding it in and being able to express yourself even when you're, scared or don't feel like anyone's going to listen, because there is people out there that will definitely listen.
Right. Final really heavy question, and then I have one funny question. But so final serious question is, I know that we see a lot of warning signs when we're dealing with people, especially on a like you said, even though technically, so I'm a nurse and I'm able to identify certain warning signs. Like I can look at someone and say, they got high blood pressure, or they got peripheral vascular disorder, or COPD. So like I can look at it, and I know you're like, look how I know they can't hold the basketball, they can't dribble with two hands. Like you're able to identify with just from looking with somebody, like that ain't it. Right. But I wanted to ask you, being in this field, do you see, whenever you are around your teammates or you have been around your teammates, have you ever seen like some warning signs, like you're seeing, she's going down a path where she's going in depression, or I can see this, or, because you're around women and you see these things. Like, do you see any warning signs whenever you are around people and you're like, now if they start doing this might mean that they're going down the dark path, or they might have some depression or some anxiety or something like that?
What I would say is, I think mood swings, just the change of the mood, where it'd be happy, and then out of nowhere, like, you're not talking as much, or we have group chats and you be the first one to text, and now you're not wanting to hang out. You say you're busy, but we're all busy, so that excuse is kind of pushed under the rug a lot, because we're all on our phones. So if you don't have enough time, then there's that kind of look to see, maybe that's one thing. And then I would just say, those part really the kind of is just mood swings. And then just if you're like I said, like, they kind of will tell you a little bit, like, hey, like, I'm just not feeling well, or I just got a lot going on, and then not really exaggerating what they really have. And so just kind of repeating that same thing, like, I'm just not feeling well today, or I just got a lot going on, so I'm just really tired. So things like that, and just trying to be able to find different ways of, like, maybe going out to eat, or going out to movies, and just doing stuff with, a group, or even individually, and making sure that person is, well taken care of, or finding someone else that, be able to support them a little bit more.
Okay, that's really, really, I love that. That was actually a really good answer, because it's kind of like, especially whenever you're in a sport, like, hey, let's do something that doesn't have anything to do with this sport at all. Like, I want to go somewhere and like just have a complete detox from basketball, especially if, like you said, injuries. I know that's a big thing of depression, just from just movies and things I've seen in life. Like, when you lose that capability to perform at a certain level that you're used to, like, that's humbling and very depressing. So that's a great suggestion. If it's sport related or whatever, like, get away from whatever it is and let's go do something that has nothing to do with that at all. So I love that answer. And so my fun question for you is, Life of Marshay, if you were not doing basketball, what would you do? What would your dream life be if it had nothing to do with basketball?
Nothing to do. I actually was talking about my teammates today, and I honestly think it would be get into engineering, civil engineering, architect, or even like video. I'm very artsy, so I like video editing. Maybe work with social media and marketing. So those are probably the two activities and things that I would do if it wasn't for basketball.
Okay. Engineer. I cannot with the numbers. Like,
I love the numbers.
I can't, like, I tell people all the time, I am a registered nurse and I will save your life, but do not make me do math. Like, I will resuscitate you, but please don't make me count. I will, because I'm smart, but like, I don't want to have to calculate math. So finally, just any projects that you have coming up that you're working on that you're excited about, anything going on in your life, anything personal, anything exciting. I know you said you play with the Arizona Ice, so anything exciting going on?
Yeah, that will be the most exciting thing I have right now. Playing basketball, I just got back into it. So after like 2.5 years of just, working at warehouses and stuff and being able to find that family atmosphere has been lovely. And so we actually play in San Diego this weekend. So we're out, enjoying the beach, the sun, relaxing, the palm trees. And then we got, two games. We got one today and then one tomorrow. And so, we're 2-2 right now. So I'm excited. The season, this is our first time, our first year. And so being able to be 2-2 right now and building that chemistry, all the girls are lovely. So it just kind of reminds me back, in my college days. So it's
Okay,
fun.
exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yay. And I love to travel. So look, I'm already seeing I got another excuse to go somewhere when you go to a fun city. I'm gonna be like,
Y'all come
oh,
over.
where she's at. You know what? Seemed like I need to be in San Diego.
Right.
Now I got something to do.
Vegas, Texas.
Right. Yes. I love that. And I love to see it. And I love love to talk to anyone about something they're passionate about. Like, for me, that almost ignites like something, I don't know, I guess because I just have just this spirit where I love to see other people, especially women, because like I said, not that I hate the guys, but I love my women, like I'm all about women empowerment. So I love that. I love the passion that you have for it. And I can definitely see that. And I see that's why you're doing great things. So thank you so much for all of that. Now, for anyone that's interested in following you, because now, they might want to come stalk you at a game or root for you, or what's the big signs they make with the face, the big.
Gosh, those posters.
Yeah, I can't think of the name. They actually have a name.
Think of the name either.
Yeah, it's some kind of head or something. So they may want to do a big thing and come see you.
No.
Any social media links that you want to drop, or any way to get in touch with you or your team, whatever, like, now's the chance, throw all your stuff in there, support your team, do whatever you got to do, like, spill all the details.
Yep. All right. We got my Instagram, Marshay13. I'm hardly on my Facebook. I'm hardly on my Twitter, but Arizona Ice, that is Instagram. So go follow us, support us. It's a great program. It's a great league. It's just the beginning. So those are probably the two only little social media sites. If you want to Google my name, feel free, Marshay Moore, and, read a little bit more about me.
Okay, great. I love that. Yeah, I'm like, listen, don't look for me on Facebook. I try to go on there, but honestly, like, I cannot take the drama, and especially like around elections. And I'm like, listen, I know I'm supposed to be acting old like y'all, but I can't. Like, y'all suck the life out of me. So I need them to get it together. Okay, so last thing, this is something that I do at the end of all my shows, and it's called a life check. And basically, if you've read my book, Day One, you know that I have life checks that I do in the middle of chapters or the end of the chapters to make sure that you retain the information that I have passed on from the show and make sure that you, anything pertinent or important or whatever. So today's life check, I just wanted to kind of just basically reiterate what Marshay and I talked about is if something is not right with you or you're starting to see some changes in behavior in someone around you, this is Mental Health Awareness Month. And no matter what it is, whether you're a professional athlete or whether you're not doing nothing but going in your backyard and sunbathing all day, whatever it is in life, we all have stresses and we all have bad days. So if something is not right or you start seeing that something isn't right with someone else, be that person that they need to talk to. Offer them some help. Send them to my podcast. We've done all these shows now about mental health. So just make sure you don't sleep on it because sometimes someone might need you to be the one to extend your arm, extend that invitation, open that conversation and that dialogue and things like that. So don't just ignore that. And two, also, make sure if you have your kids in athletics or you know, whatever, women in athletics, whatever it is, make sure that you're also checking on them because sometimes we get so used to being these high performers that we're just constantly going. And let me tell you, sometimes we crash too. So make sure you check on someone just because they're doing everything and they seem to have everything together. Make sure you still check on them because like we always say, we want to continue going beyond the fit.